When you first look at a skateboard, you may be thinking, there can't be that much going on. I mean, it's just a few wheels, a metal bar, and a piece of wood. But as you start to dig into it, it's actually a lot more complex than you would think. When I first started skateboarding, I didn't realize how many different pieces went into a board, and not to mention a variety of shapes and sizes for just one individual piece. So today I'm going to go through all the different pieces of a skateboard and what they actually do. And this is meant as like a quick, brief overview. I could, and probably will, so subscribe, do a whole video just about decks of different skateboards. So, what do all these things do? Obviously, the deck is one of the most well-known parts of a skateboard. It's where all the other pieces connect to, and of course, it's what you stand on when you're just cruising around town trying to look cool. Decks come in a variety of sizes and shapes, and which one you get depends on what you want to do. They have cruiser boards, long boards, old school, and even some other shapes where I don't even know what to call them. Unfortunately, I don't have any long boards or cruisers on hand, so I'm going to be primarily just talking about the skateboard. Now, the reason you want a skateboard over something like a cruiser or a longboard is because skateboards are made to do tricks on, while cruisers and longboards are mainly used to just ride around on. Not saying that you can't cruise around on a skateboard, but these are made specifically to do all the tricks that you probably have seen on the internet. So if you're wanting to do some tricks, you're going to want to go with this type of skateboard. It has an oval shape to it. A lot of websites, actually probably most of them, refer to a skateboard like this as a popsicle deck. Obviously because it looks delicious. On the deck, you'll notice that there's 4 little holes on both sides of the board. This is where your truck's attached to, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. Now, also on the skateboard deck, we have what we call the nose and the tail. The nose is going to be the front part of your board, while the tail is the back end of your board. On almost all skateboards, the nose is typically a bit steeper, while the tail is slightly closer to the ground. And the reason it's that way is so that the tail is closer to the ground, so when you pop, it's really quick and snappy. There's also a lot of different types of concave styles of boards. Essentially what that means is the lower the concave, the flatter your board's gonna be. The reason you would want like a flat board would be if you were just looking for cruising around the neighborhood. So that's pretty much a deck in a nutshell. So now let's move on to the big honking piece of metal that attaches to the board. The trucks are always funny to me because at first glance it looks like it's just a big piece of metal, but there's actually a lot more going on here than you would think. So let's just run through the pieces real quick and I'll just tell you what they are and what they do. At the bottom we have what we call the base plate. This is what attaches to the actual skateboard. This long metal piece at the top is what we call the hanger, and these black little smaller bars that stick out is what we call the axle. Now in the middle here we have bushings, and then a kingpin goes through the entire truck. The kingpin is what you'll loosen or tighten depending on how wobbly you want your board to be. You know, if you're riding down a steep hill, you probably want to tighten those bad boys up. But if you're just cruising around, you can loose those goose up. Do people say loose the goose up? Because if not, trademarking it. And that's all the pieces of just a truck. And I don't want to overwhelm you, and I don't want you to be freaking out if you're thinking about building a board, because when you buy trucks, they come with all this. You don't have to go individually pick out your bushings. That would be insane. When you buy trucks anywhere, you're getting this full piece that you see right here. Now, just like the skateboard deck, trucks come in a variety of sizes and shapes. The most important thing for you to do is to make sure you get the same size trucks as the width of your board. So for example, if you're riding an 8-inch board, you're gonna wanna get 8-inch trucks. The easiest way to see if you have the right size trucks is to line up the trucks with it's so hard to see the stupid bolt holes. You'll line up the bolt holes and then just use your imagination that I bolted them to this board, because I don't want to do that right now. And you should be able to just put your hand flat, and your hand should be perfectly even with the truck axle and the side of the board. These are actually smaller trucks than this deck width. I already know that because I bought the wrong size because I'm an idiot and I've never used these trucks and they've been sitting in my closet for like 2 years. Don't be like me and buy the wrong size trucks and then they mock you every single time you open your skateboard toolbox because they're sitting in there and they're so nice and clean, but you can't use them because they're too small. One last thing I'll say about trucks is that companies are, for whatever reason, super annoying and they always come up with their own different types of sizes. You're gonna have to find probably a size chart for trucks on some website. And whenever you guys are ready to start a petition to make that universal, I will be the first one to sign it. Sorry, I didn't mean to get political there, but let's move on. So now let's talk about wheels. Now, just like the cavemen wanted you to believe, wheels are obviously the things that help you move from point A to point B. The wheel obviously goes onto the trucks, and more specifically, they go on this axle part. They go on like this, and they go whoopity-woo. And there's a little bit more to it than just that, and we'll talk about that in just a couple minutes. So there are a few different sizes of wheels, and they're used for different types of boards, so I'm gonna go over that really quick. First, we have wheels that are about 60 to 75 millimeters. Those are gonna be mainly for longboards. Wheels that are about 54 to 60 millimeters are used a lot for cruiser boards. They're gonna roll a lot smoother on surfaces, but they're a bit bigger, so you probably don't wanna do tricks with them. And finally, we have here what we call park wheels, and these range anywhere from about 50 millimeters to 60 millimeters. They're called park wheels because, as you could probably guess, they're used a lot in skate parks where the cement is already pretty smooth. We also have what we call the durometer. I think I'm pronouncing that right?
Durometer.
I was wrong. It's durometer. I like never say the word durometer. I'm always just looking at it on different sites when I'm looking to buy things. I'm not just going to my friend's house and saying, "You like durometers?" So the durometer is how hard the wheel is, and like I've said before, it kind of just depends on what you're doing. So let's categorize the wheel durometer into 4 categories. We have 78A to 87A, which are softer wheels. They're great for longboards and just cruising, getting to work, you know? Getting to your friend's house. Getting to Dairy Queen. We then have 88A to 95As. These are slightly harder wheels. These are great if you're doing a variety of cruising, but you might also like to pop an ollie down a few stairs every once in a while. We then have 96A to 101A. These are harder and they're faster wheels. These are what you see a lot of times in skate parks or people that are mainly doing tricks. And finally, we have 83Bs to 84Bs. These are the hardest types of wheels. They're used by typically like advanced skaters in skate parks, and that's pretty much it. Now the reason the wheels are softer or harder, like I said, softer wheels are gonna be great for cruising, and that's just so you can like get around cracks and rocks. When they're harder, they're not gonna bend as much, so you hit a little crack and you're dead. So now let's talk about how the wheel spins on the truck. Inside this wheel, you're gonna have 2 more smaller wheels called bearings, and this is what makes the wheel spin on the truck. Each wheel requires 2 bearings, and there's 4 wheels, so if we use a quick little math, we can figure out that there's 8 bearings per skateboard setup. All bearings are gonna fit all skateboard wheels, so there's not much to look for in size, but you may notice that sometimes they're still super expensive. And the reason you'll see more expensive ones is because of the material that they use to make the bearings. Essentially, the more expensive the bearing, the faster the wheel's gonna spin. Bearings can range anywhere from about $10 to $70. I've been skating for over 20 years and I've used Bones red bearings for a super long time. They're like 15 bucks and I haven't had any issues with them. The only reason you'd be spending $70 is if you're trying to freaking go the speed of light, or if you're just like a very advanced skater. But like I said, most people do not use $70 bearings. And if you like circles going in circles, well then you're gonna love the next thing I talk about, spacers, which are even smaller circles that go on the skate wheel and truck. Spacers are these little rings that go on each side of your wheel in your truck. So again, you're gonna have 8. Now the spacers are there to help reduce the weight of the bearing to help you turn smoother. I love those little rings on bigger rings on bigger rings. So that's all the main pieces of a skateboard, but there are a couple other things that I should just tell you about just so you're familiar with them. So first, let's talk about grip tape. So the grip tape is this gritty, almost sandpaper-like sheet that goes over the top of your board. Without the grip tape there, you would just be sliding around everywhere on the deck, and it would be not very chill. And a piece of my board just broke off. And last but not least, let's talk about what they just call as hardware. Now, hardware is pretty much just any single bolt or nut that is on the skateboard. When you buy a set of hardware, it usually comes with all the nuts and bolts you would need for a complete setup. A lot of times though, when you buy trucks, they usually come with their own hardware. And that is a complete overview of all the pieces of a skateboard. I should not have worn a hoodie because it is super hot in here and I'm sweating to death. Like I said at the beginning of this video, I will be making a series of videos talking about each piece that I just went over, and that's so if you're looking to build your own skateboard, you know what you're looking for. As always, I'm here to help out, so if you have any questions about any of this, please leave a comment down below, or if you just want to remind me not to wear a hoodie next time I film in the middle of summer, that would also be great. So thank you for watching, I really appreciate it. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe, and until next time, have fun, good luck, and keep shredding the gnar.